Alright, this video is in essence a response video to a video that Karceno did a couple days ago where he pretty much voiced his opinion that he doesn't like the comparisons between Russell Westbrook and Oscar Robertson, saying that Oscar Robertson, or really Russell Westbrook, doesn't deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as Oscar Robertson. And I agree with that, actually. Oscar Robertson is a better player than Russell Westbrook and a more accomplished player than Russell Westbrook. If ESPN, which I don't really watch that much, are making those comparisons, then that's just, ESPN just does that, man. And I don't like it personally. It pisses me off that their main priority is marketing. ESPN is not in the business of educating viewers. They're just there to promote their product. That's it. Whatever is hot at that particular time, whatever marketing strategy they're going to use to maximize their profits and business, that's what they're going to do. So they're using these. This is like the year to triple double. All right, so that's what they're pushing out there. Russell Westbrook, who has 13 triple doubles this year. I think Harden has something like 6 or 7 himself this year. That's what they're doing. But no, Russell Westbrook is not as good as Oscar Robertson. He's a flawed player. He has a lot of flaws. He isn't the highest shooting percentage guy out there. He shoots a low percentage. I think he's only shooting 42% from the field. He turns the ball over quite a bit. But I defend Russell Westbrook quite a bit because he has an unusually high number of detractors and haters. I understand the temptation to, put things into perspective when you see all this hype out there. And I've done it myself a lot of times, but I want to address some things that Karceno said in his video that I think are misleading, all right? He said something about Russell Westbrook gets weak rebounds or, he doesn't get real rebounds. Like, what does that mean? I mean, to me, he used video footage to prove like what he's talking about. The way that their offense is set up is for Russell Westbrook to have the basketball in his hands, okay, as much as possible. And also, they don't have the most explosive offense. So oftentimes, the centers are boxing out to try to get Russell Westbrook to rebound and the ball as quickly as possible so that they can run their offense. So he can run their offense, excuse me. And when you got a guy where really their offense is limited as it is, they try to get as many fast break opportunities as possible. That's kind of what they are attempting to do many times. So there's nothing new or cheap about it. Like I said, Russell Westbrook is a very flawed player. He turns the ball over a bit. He makes some decisions out there on the court that bother me. He's not in the pantheon of all-time greats. He's not a top 10 player. But I will say this, I said it before. If Russell Westbrook is able to win an MVP award, if he wins the MVP award and he's able to average a triple-double, I probably would consider him a top 50 all-time player. That's just my opinion, okay? He probably at the bottom of my top 50 list, but I would probably consider him a top 50 guy, even if I had him at number 50. And I'll just go from there. Because we have to be fair. At this point, Russell Westbrook's about 9 years into his career. At this point in time, most people considered Allen Iverson a top 50 all-time player. Most people considered, everybody considered Kobe Bryant a top 50 player already this far in his career. But Russell Westbrook is what he is. He is the good and the bad. Most people expected this from him, okay? We all know the flaws that Russell Westbrook has in his game. Okay, we've known this. Russell Westbrook has been unfairly maligned his entire career. Unfavorably, a lot of the blame has been put on Russell Westbrook for why the Thunder haven't gotten to where they should have been or what they could have been. Instead of giving a lot of the blame to Durant, they've always thrown it on Westbrook. The Thunder have lost Kevin Durant. They lost a lot of their firepower. So we expected Russell Westbrook to dominate the basketball this year. We expected him to do these great things and expand upon the great things he did last year. And he's doing it, but yet he's getting unfairly criticized for doing exactly what we wanted him to do and we're expecting him to do. He's damned if he do and damned if he don't. If he plays passive, then he's not stepping up to play. If he plays the way that we expected him to play, then we criticize him for being selfish. Now, a little bit more into what Karceno said in his video, which I disagree with. He said back in Oscar Robertson's day, triple-doubles were harder to come by. Well, that's not true. But because, number one, you have to remember that steals and blocks were not counted as a statistic until 1973, 1974, which was actually the last year that Oscar Robertson played in the NBA. So, in reality, I don't find it hard to believe, especially considering the pace that they played in the 1960s, that Oscar Robertson probably had a few more than 181 career triple-doubles. He probably had some games where he recorded 10 or more steals. Probably not that many, but he probably had some. I would say I wouldn't find it hard to believe that he had 6 or 7 games where he had 10 or more steals in a game. Okay. Also, I've already stated that Harvey Pollack, the statistician, the late statistician with the Philadelphia 76ers, already stated that he recorded that Wilt Chamberlain had at least 2 seasons averaging over 10 blocks per game. So that's already multiple seasons with Wilt Chamberlain averaging triple-double to go along with probably the 24 points or 23 rebounds he probably averaged as well. And then you throw in 10 blocks per game, unofficially, quote-unquote. And this was a Wilt Chamberlain who was 30 years old, about 290 to 300 pounds, playing, coming into training camp about 315, 320, okay, when he was a sturdier fella, not quite as springy as he was during his younger Philadelphia Warrior days. So you could probably imagine that the season where he averaged 48.5 minutes per game, the 48.5 coming from the fact that he didn't play, he didn't take any time off as far as breaks, receiving only breaks during what timeouts were called, including overtimes. You have to imagine what type of numbers he was putting up that season. If he averaged 50.4 points per game, and he's averaging 25.7 rebounds per game, and he's 25 years old, and he's 7 foot and 275 pounds, and springy, and his physical peak. You have to imagine if he averaged 10.6 blocks and 10.7 blocks per game in seasons where he's 30 and 31 years of age. I don't think it's that far to believe. And he's probably logging 45, 46 minutes a game. And the season where he's logging 48.5 minutes per game, Is it really hard to believe that he may have been averaging 12 blocks per game? So Wilt Chamberlain probably had multiple seasons averaging a triple-double, which is why it's not hard to believe that he probably had 400 to 500 career triple-doubles. Right? So no triple-doubles weren't hard to come by when Oscar Robertson played. The pace of the game was faster. There was more possessions. There were more rebounds to get. More block shots. More steal opportunities. Triple-doubles were actually easier to come by in Oscar Robertson's era. And I'll say this at the very end of this video to end this. Oscar Robertson was listed at 6'5" and 210 pounds, all right? When you see the earlier footage of Oscar Robertson, he's a lot more slender, had more of an athletic build, but as the years went on, he became progressively pudgier and bigger. I don't know what his weight was when he retired, but he was obviously a bigger guy. If I had to take a guess, he probably put on at least 25 pounds throughout his career, which would put him close to 240, 235, 240. Now, if you look at the weight of most centers at that particular time, outside of, Wilt Chamberlain, and one of the commenters mentioned a guy by the name of Billy Pulse, nicknamed the Whopper because of his weight. Outside of guys like that and Wilt, and some others, most centers probably weighed about 230, 220, 240. And Oscar Robertson is about that weight, and he's 6'5", and you have to take into account that back in those days, players were listed in their bare feet, so in shoes, in today's footwear at least, not in the Chuck Taylors that they wore back in those days, but in today's era with the footwear that we wear today, he would probably be listed more as 6'6" and a half and 230, 235. You see what I'm saying? Or about the size of Paul Pierce, but a little bit bigger overall. So, or stockier. Because Oscar kind of had a build as he got bigger. His build was a little bit closer to a Charles Barkley type. You know what I mean? So it's like he had this really odd body stature. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, during Oscar's day, there was no three-point line. Most of the shots came from inside or mid-range area. Oscar, being the size that he was, it's not hard to believe that he could average a triple-double. He was a very big guard for his era. I mean, you got to take into account that when he came into the league in 1960, you had guards like Slater Martin, who was, 5'9", 180 pounds, 170 pounds. You had guards like Bill Sharman, who was 6 feet and 170. Bob Cousy, who earlier in his career, was getting triple-doubles at an not alarming rate, because, I guess if you're the opposition, it'd be an alarming rate, but he was getting triple-doubles at an extraordinary rate before they acquired Bill Russell. But Bob Cousy was like 6'3" and 170, I think. Okay, so he was playing alongside a lot of considerably smaller guys, and he would post these guys up and score with ease at times. And, with his fadeaway jump shot, which Phil Jackson said what he thought that Oscar and Michael had the two best post games of any two guard he ever seen. Two guards that he ever seen. And but anyway, the point is, I don't think it was easier in Oscar's time. Harder in Oscar's time to get triple doubles. I think it was easier. Russell Westbrook is 6'3". So, I mean, that's just my opinion on this one, man. Oscar Robertson is a far better player than Russell Westbrook, or considerably better player than Russell Westbrook, and he has a far greater legacy. But Russell Westbrook still should get credit for getting triple doubles. Okay, are some of his triple doubles a little sloppy? Yes, some of them are. He turns the ball over a lot. One of the triple doubles recently, I think he had like 10 turnovers. Okay, he doesn't shoot the ball particularly well, but he still accomplished a triple double. Now, sometimes is he sort of stat padding? I can assume that at times, but you know what? I don't care to an extent if he's doing that, because you look at how much shit this guy took over this off season, and you look at some of the things that were said about him, and he was the reason why Kevin Durant left, and I mean, to think, what's going through this guy's mind this season, man. He probably wants to prove something to himself, as well as to prove that he can lead the Thunder at least to the playoffs, okay, which would be a minor miracle. And that's all I have to say in conclusion of this video. Oscar Robertson's a legend. Russell Westbrook is an all-star. He has a lot to prove to even get into the same stratosphere as Oscar Robertson. But once again, Karceno proves that he doesn't know what he's talking about. A lot of times we talk about basketball, and he needs to stick to talking about rap and TMZ type stuff. And Isaiah Thomas is not the greatest player of all time. Okay, but that's his opinion. But can he put forth any evidence other than his own opinion to justify him ranking Isaiah Thomas as the greatest player of all time? But that's it.